sanctum, my intellectual womb, my palace of the mind. Welcome, and make yourself comfortable. Pray tell me, what's the darkest, most delicious nugget of knowledge you've come across in your time?
With a mischievous twinkle in his eye, Cranley glances from you to some nearby skill books, rare ones. He raises an eyebrow. Impress him, and we might win a prize, it seems. Cranley Hubert's eyes bulge with amazement.
Oh, I do. And please, let's not be so formal. Down here, call me Gigi.
He gestures absently for you to select from the skill books as your reward. It seems that the poor fellow is quite taken aback by what you told him. Without another word, he wanders away from you, deep in thought.
Clear off. Need to keep the way clear. Ain't no getaway happening here, and if there is, I ain't involved. Get it? Good. Now clear off. You're in the way. Ain't no one going nowhere, far as you're concerned. Now clear off. You're in the way.
Well, hello, handsome. Care to hear about the power of cheese? I've got wheels and rounds and blocks and rolls and possibly more. But my wares are nuanced, with undertones of something rare.
She looks you up and down, then...
What's on my mind? Why, texture, maturity, taste. But most of all, I'm wondering what tickles your fancy. Looking at you, I think it may be power. Am I right? So I have not misjudged you. Now, we've established how you feel about power. How do you feel about law? Specifically laws relating to property and the acquisition of goods,
A glint appears in her eye, and she smiles. Then she raises her hands and shows you her rings.
Perhaps this is the power you seek. I've been waiting for the right customer to come along for these, but I warn you, power doesn't come cheap, even for someone as attractive as you. I have my little helpers, here, there, and everywhere. They find me the finest morsels in all of Arx. After all, why should the most delectable of foodstuffs grace only the tables of the nobility? Yes, you could be an asset. Very well. You can find my helpers, the Thieves' Guild, within the Arx sewers, in their so-called secret hideout. Here, I'll mark it for you. But approach carefully. The foul stench is hardly the sewer's gravest danger.
Godwoken, how can I help? I'll do what I do best. Hold things together. Those that remain still need a chief, so I'll attend to whatever needs attending to. I have no more surprises up my sleeve. I dare say you've had enough. It's a city at a crossroads. Volumes could be written about a single conflict, yet Arx endures an infinitude at once. It's from Arx that the Divine Order operates, so to speak, though you'll find its operations are as scattered as dandelion seeds in a cyclone. With both factions at odds, sorcery is not a pervading concern. Do not, however, assume that every paladin offers safe haven. The enemy of your enemy is not always a friend. We were naive. We needed a Godwoken to ascend, and we assumed that a Godwoken would merit ascension. Our error cost us dear. Many died. But the mistake did not ascend. For that we can be grateful. It was a painful lesson on the dangers of the Godwoken. But if the mistake did not ascend, perhaps divinity would indeed alight on the most deserving. I hope this is the case, eh, Godwoken?
He exhales, a long release of pure relief.
His was a terrible story that leaves few of us covered in glory. But the story at least is over. And yours goes on. For that, I'm grateful. I pray we do not make the same mistakes again.
Jehan runs his fingers across his temples and scalp, intermittently squeezing and massaging, as if nursing a severe headache.
Adramalik's voice has gone silent. But I'm afraid my recovery will take a touch of time. I am well past my prime, you know. I have no plans whatsoever, beyond dusting my head for crud and cobwebs. After that, well, as long as the essence of Nemesis finds a way to leak into Rivellon, there'll be hunting to do. I'll enjoy peace when it's truly mine to have.
You're lucky that I enjoy a bumpy ride, my dear. Our arrival here was vigorous, even for my tastes. I'm still eternally grateful for all you've done for me, of course. In fact, here, take this. I suspect you'll find use for it soon enough. This place? No. Arx is clogged with Divine Order lackeys, from what I understand. It's not the sort of town where a girl like me could let her hair down, unfortunately.
Quite a landing. I should know better by now than to think we're safe. I was stationed here for a short time. There was a strong Magister presence back then. A large barracks. A jail. The Whites were based there too, but their dealings were a mystery to me. I heard a rumour once that they had secret chambers built into the foundations of the barracks, that you could hear whispers in the walls at night. But I never saw or heard anything myself.
A glazed look passes over Mihaly's eyes. He smiles benignly.
Enthrall me? Whatever do you mean? Almira is my true love. I've known that since the moment I met her. I'm eternally grateful to be at her side.
You must truly savor my company, Godwoken. Something you wanted?
Tarquin's jaw tightens.
I dabble in all forms of learning, necromancy included. Can you really blame me for being talented? Can you really blame me when I'm forced to use my skills against my will?
Many more of those on my sleeve.
Who are you to judge me? Weren't you willingly trying to help those leeches? Those so-called gods? Their lust for power is the root of all misery in this world. But yes, I did it. I ushered Brachus Rex, the mad sorcerer king, back into the land of the living. I hope you'll admit, that is impressive. Dallas willed it, and I was in no position to refuse. She wanted to use Brachus to sniff out the Aeteran, to use a tyrannical king as her personal bloodhound, so she could get her hands on the most powerful purging device the world's ever seen.
She thinks she can control him. She is wrong. A creature like him will find a way to break his shackles. He must be eradicated. That's why I sought the pieces of anathema. It's the only thing that can slay him.
What could possibly best the greatest act of necromancy ever performed? Reversing it. That's what. Here, take anathema and keep it close. Without it, you are nothing to Brachus.
Don't worry, Chief. I'm on high alert.
She flings her hands into the air, closes her eyes and laughs.
I feel real.
She twirls in place, then stands straight, arms at her sides, still smiling.
I feel like I can take on the world. As for Dallas, bring it on.
A visitor. Tell me, do you like puppets?
The toy seller nods and smiles.
Wonderful. Here, take a look at this.
The puppet springs to life.
Would you like to play? Impressive, no? There's a lot of craftsmanship in that small package. Quite a lot. Now, what can I do for you? I haven't had many callers of late, what with all the fuss and hubbub that's been going on outside. Sauce, what else? Each and every one of my darlings has a little bit of magic in them. It turns a mere toy into a friend. Oh, no, not at all. I use only the smallest sprinkle of sauce in my work. I'd hardly think a Voidwoken would set its sights on me and my darlings. I love my work. I love the possibilities of it all. The idea of engineering something to perfection. But one aspect always fails me. People. fallible, mortal, irrational people.
He throws an adoring glance to one of the puppets.
My darlings aren't like that. They are pure and beautiful. They don't make mistakes, and they don't question my desires. I don't need others anymore. I have something better. I'm on good terms with the Divine Order. They know what my work entails. They've even had use for me in the past. I have nothing to fear from them.
What of it?
It is a feat of engineering. A modern marvel, unmatched in quality anywhere in the realm. I should know, as it is my greatest work to date. But you should broach more practical matters with Lord Protector Ahu, the keeper of the cathedral. You should find him in his chambers there. Myself and others, some of the finest feats of engineering ever conceived guard the remains of the divine. The Path of Blood was our masterpiece. Now I'm the last one alive, the last engineer of the cathedral and its secrets. I've retired and found a new calling, these wondrous darlings. One of my late colleagues designed them for the cathedral, little wind-up sentries to guard against intruders. Now I busy myself turning the surplus into toys. It truly feels good to spread a little joy in my twilight years.
The Royal Guard's eyes widen as you approach, beast in tow. His calloused fingers reach towards the wolf insignia adorning his uniform.
Marcus. Marcus Miles.
Beast remains silent, though his clenched jaw reveals his resentment. He moves his hand towards his weapon.
Calm yourself, Marcus. You don't know me, but I know you. The rebellion lives. You're lucky to have found an ally here. You won't find many in this house, and certainly not among the Queen's regiment. That Isbel hasn't found me out is a minor miracle.
So the winds would blow me off course, then? Good to know, my friend.
The guard leans closer to Beast, his voice tight.
The rebellion is in danger. You are in danger. Do not reveal yourself here, Marcus. The guards won't know you unless you announce yourself. Your rebels braved the hinterlands, they braved the wave dancer, and now they brave a poisoned court. They need you alive.
He nods to the door, then takes the rigid stance of a proper Royal Guardsman.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Sorry, it's been, quite a day. You need a hand with anything, let me know. No, the boss's daughter was tying the knot. Guards were to make sure it was invite only. Not that it made any difference. There's no way we could have known. But even in these times, one doesn't expect a Voidwoken to appear at a wedding. I'll tell you something, though. We'd no problem with those filthy beasties till all these guards showed up. You and me both. Worked for Ross for a decade. I'd half expected an invitation of my own. But even with half of Arx lying dead in his garden, he still wants the shop open. Then again, if I'd been at the wedding... The fact that the boss loves counting his pennies is probably the only reason I'm breathing. That said, it doesn't feel right to be hawking wares with that next door. Job's the job, though. Can hardly leave Arx with naught but empty pockets. Don't know much. Everyone was out in the garden for the wedding. I was watching the shop and then... Guards were everywhere, but those beasties just cut through them like butter. Boss said to keep the doors open, but truth be told, I feel ill just standing here. By Duna, closing can't come fast enough.
He rubs his jaw in thought and gives you a long look.
Loar, eh? The boss has been getting messages from dwarves all over, but that is an interesting one. He's not exactly everyone's favourite dwarf. But talk to the guard at the door. I really shouldn't say any more.
The Royal Protector sighs at Beast, but barely looks up from the floorboards as she addresses him.
if you're here for the wedding, there was... It's over now. So be on your way.
Beast gives you an inquisitive look.
Cut short, was it? Well, then you won't mind if I head in. Royal business. Wouldn't concern you.
Look, there's been a tragedy. Bride's completely broken about it, poor thing. So like I said, be on your way.
Look, Missy. I'm here on Lohar's orders. He said to come and bend Mikhail Ross's ear, and I don't intend to do him wrong.
She gives Beast a steady, defiant stare. A spark of recognition lights up her eyes, but is gone in a flash.
Figured I knew ya. One of Lohar's, eh? You're late. But guess that's a good thing. I'll unlock the door for you.
God, I am so sorry. How could I have known?
She looks up at you with glassy eyes, wiping her tear-streaked face on one brocade sleeve.
A girl's wedding should be the happiest day of her life. I don't know how this could happen. Who would have seen it coming?
She looks down at her feet. Seeing her blood-spattered wedding slippers, her face crumples and tears spring from her eyes.
I should be so happy. Everybody should be so happy. But before we could even cut our wedding cake, there were Voidwoken everywhere. We barely made it indoors alive. But not everyone was so lucky. I can hardly bear to think of them. Their wives and husbands and children back in the kingdom, left to grieve alone. What are you insinuating? We're merchants, not mystics. You should have seen those void monsters. All that blood, all that death. They didn't deserve... We didn't.
She buries her head in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably.
I can't accept them. I know you mean well, but how can I celebrate now? Voidwoken on my wedding day. At least my loving husband is still with me.
She turns and waves one timid hand to her husband on the balcony. He offers an apathetic grunt in return. She blinks back tears from her pink-tinged eyes.
Please forgive him. He's broken up. It's a lot to take in. We lost so much in the blink of an eye. I have been feeling peaky lately. My darling said it was the rosy glow of a woman in love. But now, I think it was a warning. A sign of the massacre to come. My poor love. He needs a moment to himself. And who wouldn't? Today should have been so different.
She takes a shuddering breath and idly itches her face. You would expect her cheeks to be ruddy from tears, but they are pale instead, almost translucent, revealing the vessels snaking underneath.
Ah, you.
The noble-looking dwarf beckons Ifan closer. Ifan narrows his eyes, but strides over anyhow, as the dwarf gestures toward the somber group inside.
Hard to believe you're looking at a wedding party, isn't it? My wedding party.
He looks you over, his mouth pressed into a mirthless smirk.
But I suppose you're no stranger to mournful faces. The Silver Fang, isn't that right?
Look, I know you're him. I know you can take care of problems. And I've got just the problem for you. A very lucrative one.
I intend to be a particular kind of husband. And I could use someone with your particular talents to help me achieve this. I need you to take care of my father-in-law and bring me his will.
The dwarf winks in an exaggerated fashion, squeezing one eye shut so forcefully it looks like his face just swallowed an eyeball. In return, Ifan raises one eyebrow, slowly.
The man you speak of is not who I am, anymore. And I'll not become him again for the likes of you.
Without another word, Ifan turns on one heel and strides away, leaving the aggrieved dwarf spluttering in his wake. Ifan gives you a sheepish look, all flinty eyes and hunched shoulders.
That's just not the kind of business I'm interested in anymore.
He nods, a faraway look in his eyes.
After the death fog, I truly thought there was no point to anything anymore. But now, after all we've been through together, I've got a new purpose. Stopping Divinity.
A well-dressed dwarf paces around the room, overseeing the packing of trunks. He doesn't look up as he addresses you.
Yes, thank you for coming. Indeed, it would have been a beautiful ceremony, if only...
The dwarf trails off as he takes in the sight of Beast. His face goes from soft to stern, and your dwarven companion looks to you for guidance.
Marcus Miles, you should get out of here. Go back to the high seas and sing your shanties and do whatever else your band of brigadiers does. We'll all be better off.
Come now, Ross. Is that any way to talk to a distinguished member of the royal family?
Heh, you're no royal, not anymore. A beast you were and a beast you remain. There's only one reason you'd come to Arx. You're looking for Justinia. Heed my advice and leave this place before you do something stupid.
Look, I can't change the past, and I'm sure as hell not going to apologise for it. But Justinia's in trouble. Big time. And if anyone can talk some sense into her, it's me.
He peers into Beast's eyes, looking for a sign of honest intent, and, satisfied, his face softens.
When the crackdowns and decrees came, I defended her. But when she exiled you, I joined in the applause. But this new plan of hers, I want to believe I do, but death fog? Something's not right, Marcus. She's tuned me out. Well, she's tuned everyone out. Everyone but that advisor of hers, that Isbale. Her quacking all but drowns us out. She's holding court in the sewers, if you can believe it. Go to my wine cellar. Pull out the vintage called Lula Bell. It will open the way for you. I don't know what Justinia's endgame is, Marcus, but I don't want to be anywhere near when it begins.
You've come to serve, yes? Excellent. Bring me my slippers. Chop chop. Do hurry. My hooves are shivering from the chill.
The spirit of a dwarven lady stands eagerly by, as if she's waiting to catch a bouquet. The spirit shoos you away absently, her gaze fixed intently on the arc that the bouquet is taking through the air.
What is happening out here? Haven't we seen enough tragedy today?
He considers the wreckage surrounding the X-cake. Understanding dawns.
That cake, it came from the doctor, with a letter of congratulation. It was truly a magnificent sight, but the wedding was cut short before we could even slice it. Voidwoken, sabotage, bad cake. You'd think someone had it in for our little lady. Can't say I blame you. I don't want to appear disloyal, but as dwarfen weddings go, this one had a tad more blood than usual. A tad.
A well-dressed dwarf paces swiftly around the room, overseeing the packing of trunks. He gives you a cursory glance, worry etched on his face.
Yes, thank you for coming. Indeed, it would have been a beautiful ceremony if only... Dark times. Dark times indeed. Safe home to you now.
He quickly turns away and casts a worried gaze around the room, counting something on his fingers.
You already know how close the danger is. If it all goes to hell, I don't plan on being anywhere near this place.
Voidwoken at a wedding. Oh, it's too ghastly to contemplate, and yet it happened right here. My poor darling girl. Now, if you'll pardon me, as I'm sure you can imagine, I have terribly many affairs to tend to. Such chaos to right in the wake of this disaster. I appreciate your concern, but I'm sure you understand I'm quite overcome at the moment. Be sure to close the doors behind you as you leave. And, if I may, the city's in quite a state, as I'm sure you've noticed. Void woken within and without. Civil war between the powers that be. My advice? Leave Arx for fairer ground. No reason to remain. Ah, my darling Lulabelle. Isn't she a beautiful creature? A ray of light during dark times, when even a marriage ceremony can get cut short by tragedy. Awful, just awful. I spent a fortune on the decor alone. The Void Woken have made quite a mess of the place. Attack toys, you say? Any other day I wouldn't believe you. Today, nothing can surprise me. What's next? An army of poisoned toads? Flying crocodiles? Fire-breathing chickens? Looks like I'll need to have a word with the doctor. Right after you've gone. Which should be any moment now, I'm sure. Well, yes, of course. I'm not unsympathetic, you know, but I don't have time for teary eyes and sniffles. So, if you please, I'm sure you've your own burdens to bear.
Ross taps his foot impatiently and steals a glance at his half-packed boxes.
Yes? Hell if I know. A terrible answer, but it's all I've got. But it wasn't long after she started hovering around Justinia that things started to change. Justinia's always been hard, if you know what I mean, but never heartless. I don't know what her endgame is, but I don't want to be anywhere near when it begins. And you know what must be done, and why it must be done quickly. Is there more you need from me?
Well, look at you! Another jumbasaur here to join the circus, Eight-legged mummies, crate dwarves, lousely children. What else would you call it? Spiders as big as your head. No, bigger. And they'll grow a baby inside you if you're not very, very, very careful. What's to tell? A noisy gang of dwarves dragged an excessively large gang of crates in, and neither one ever left. Rude. Sneaky, oily, lousely kids dip in and out of here all the time. I ought to set out traps, see what I catch.
What you doing?
A little girl looks you square in the face. She doesn't smile, she doesn't frown, and she sure as hell doesn't look shy.
Olivia's silly. You don't. I need to think about this.
She thinks about this.
Now that you're here, can't very well leave. Suppose you told someone. Nah, that wouldn't do. Nah, you'll just have to die. Get my troll to do it. Yeah, that's what we'll do. The troll will fix it. And then you'll be dead. That's silly. Because if you chop it up and roll it in salt, it'll last for ages. Hello? Got any more money? My daddy once said, don't go to the toilet on your own doorstep. Then my mum chased him away for going in the bedroom. Them crates belong to dwarves. We leave them alone. The crates and the dwarves. They're our friends. Pom-Pom can talk to him. They're not very clever, but she says they're nice. Yeah, it's alright. That's for me to know and you to never find out. I stole it from Lord Kem's house, didn't I? And so what? I only took one of them. The other two were too heavy. Got a map. There's a pulley thing here. And then a pool with no water and a hatch in it. Easy. Yeah. No. Okay, you can have it for this much. Take the stupid painting then. I never liked it anyway.
What do you say when a cat wins the dog show? That's right. You're fun. I like you. He's my friend. I like him too. But he has a terrible sense of humour. And he eats cats. Oh, he's not tame. He's not tame at all. I don't think so. Trolls don't like grown-ups. Anyways, I'm not in charge. Tamora's in charge. We all do what she says. Bye then.
Arx, city of secrets it is. And you know what happens to the most valuable secrets? They get buried. Or stolen. That happens too. Some secrets get stolen, then buried. With some, it's the other way round. Royalty, my friend. Royalty holds court here. You might think me crazy, but I've seen the royal wardens patrolling these corridors. And as you can tell, they saw me. Pity, really. That would have been a good score. Would have been the highlight of my career, that. Stealing from royalty, hiding in the sewers, up to no good. They wouldn't have been able to report the theft to the authorities. The perfect crime, that. Oh well, I had a good run.
Bound and blindfold, you are dragged through the darkness. The stench tells you you're in the sewers. Your dwarven captors are silent, but then a skittering, as of blades tapping on stone. Your captors stop, unsure. Screams rend the darkness, silence falls, and then that sound again. Sticks dancing on stone. You tear the blindfold free, then wish you hadn't. The giant spider looms over you, its jaws close upon your face. A guard rushes in front of you, and before you can flinch, the point of a sharp spear draws a bead of blood from the artery in your neck.
Halt! State your name. Now!
Marcus! Guard, lower your spear. An old friend's come to pay a visit.
Isbiel, we must not...
I'm well aware of the beast's ambitions, Your Highness.
Do as she says. Lower your spear.
Yes, of course, my queen.
Your Highness, Bloom of Duna, Flame of the Forge, I present your bastard cousin and the seed of divinity, Marcus Miles.
Marcus is dead. I am the beast of the sea, and you will address me as such.
The queen opens her mouth as if to speak, but Beast cuts her off with an ominous growl.
I know your deceit, Justinia. I may be beast, but I'm no demon. And only a demon could dream up an evil like Operation Downfall.
Isbale intrudes before the queen can speak.
Your Majesty's brilliance has known no bounds. The Order has living tools of war. My queen must attack before they can invade the homeland.
Justinia turns to Isbale, looking for assurance, and Isbale begins to chuckle. Her laugh is low and measured at first, but grows in magnitude until she can barely breathe.
Oh, but you think yourself so clever, don't you, beastie boy? Fine. I'm tired of pretending I serve this weak wench anyway, but it doesn't matter. You can't stop the death fog. The wheels are in motion.
Isbiel?
Shut your royal maw, Justinia. Arcs will fall and your memory writ. They will believe it was your will, your plan, your command.
Isbiel, hush yourself. I must think.
Hush! You pitiful woman! Do you truly expect me to be silent?
You blink yourself awake to the cold gaze of 1,000 stones and the hot gaze of the dwarf Isbale, right hand of the queen.
Oh, good. You're awake. Yeah, at first I figured I'd just kill you. But then I thought, Isbiel, you're wasting an opportunity here. Don't bother thanking me just yet, though. I dare say you'll be begging to die before long. So I'll start with lesser toxins, just to see how you react, and take it from there. How strong a dose can a godwoken handle? How long does it take for one to succumb? So many questions.
Your lips open, but no words spill forth. You try to lift your head, but it is no match for gravity. She has paralyzed you. Only your eyes are free to move.
Don't fight it. You'll only make things worse. Oh, but I've been so rude. You should know the real me. Oh, it's good to give myself a rest. Those masks can be darned pesky.
Every ounce of energy within you evaporates. You have no more control over your own source than you do of your flaccid body. Isbale shakes her head at you. Tut, tut.
Do try to relax. The harder you fight, the harder the experiment will be on you. That dose proves quite alarming for my normal subject. Let's try a new approach, shall we?
The attempt is futile. Every inch of your body is useless, though your senses still register every sight, sound, and smell.
Let's see now. I have just the thing. Just a spritz, mind you.
You struggle to move, and you feel your toes wiggle, and your fingers twitch. The paralysis is waning.
Interesting. Some of the results are quite unexpected. Now, let's move on to death fog. Live or die, you've already proven most... Well, I was going to say useful, but perhaps entertaining is the better word.
Isbale turns the valve, but no fog wafts forth. In that moment, you feel your bones and muscles awaken. You've regained control of your body at last.
What's wrong with it? Guards! Come! The guard worker's broken free of my spell!
You look at your companions in shock. Black Ring influence or not, the enormity of the Queen's plan is revealed. To kill everyone in the city.
Nobody can forgive the use of death fog. Not even me.
I'm not surprised by this. You shouldn't be either. I'm not surprised by this. You shouldn't be either.
You can't fight darkness with darkness. You just can't. Whatever she intended, the end result will be more death and destruction.
The great machine sits before you. Pipework tentacles outwards and upwards, the conduits piercing the ground overhead, wending their way towards the city and her people above. Even through the seals of the great cistern, you scent the acrid sting of the death fog inside. A faint gossamer of death fog rises from a junction where the release valve meets a pipe. A switch allows redirection to a different pipe, labelled C. The junction currently leads to a pipe labelled Arcs.
That other pipe leads to the sea. Redirect the flow. It'll minimize the harm.
The only way to keep Ark safe is to smash this thing to pieces. Do it.
Redirect the death fog. Better to poison the fishes than to poison the people.
The only way to keep Ark safe is to smash this thing to pieces. Do it!
That other pipe leads to the sea. Redirect the flow. It'll minimize the harm.
I don't trust that leak. I say flip the switch. Send the death fog to the water, away from the city.
The machine creaks to life, and the death fog begins to flow through the other pipe. You hear the howl of the fog as it travels the pipe towards the sea, and the machine winds down. The cistern is empty. All is silent.
Do you think Arx is safe in my death? I faced the grave before, you know. Yet through the God King, I have eternal life.
The Master's purpose is his own to speak, not mine. You're good with words, so sincere, I almost believed you. But let's pretend I fell for your little persuasion game. I'll tell you the Black Ring's plans on one condition. You release the death fog. You bring my mission to an end. Then our little chat is done. And to think I called you persuasive.
Justinia!
Justinia expels a long, shuddering sigh. It joins the other whispers that permeate the dank sewer air. A moment passes.
What do you want from me, Marcus? What can I possibly say at this moment and in this place to appease you?
It's not about appeasement. It's about innocent lives. Cannot let you release the death fog.
Marcus, the city is safe. I know the truth about Isbeel, about the Black Ring. It's over now.
So you're telling me you weren't malicious? You were just too weak to know you were being played? What a goddamned joke, Justinia.
You're right. Is that what you want to hear? You're right. Go and tell everyone how right you are. But you know what your rightness won't do. Protect a kingdom. And protect it I did, while you went off to live your God's damned pirate fantasy. And if I knew then what I knew now, Marcus, I would still exile you. You would walk the Isle of Mist to this day, stalked by demons and living the nightmares they planted in you. Call me a fool or a tyrant. Call me whatever you want, but I was still there. I was there. I lived reality while you were playing games.
Lad, you really lead me wrong. Call it. I know you got my back. We'll do as you say then. Go back to them, Justinia. I'll go too. We have to rebuild. For us and for them.
Have you forgotten your own journey, Marcus? I know you love your people. I know you would see them free, but I must be the one to face them. To release them from the prison I made for them. You are God-woken. Think of what you can do for the kingdom as divine. Far more than I can as queen. Go. I will serve the people as they ask. You will serve them as they warrant.
Justinia kisses his cheek.
You are the beast of the sea. The God-woken. The divine in waiting. You will do your people proud.
The spirit before you is paper-thin, as though there was hardly enough sauce in it to manifest at all. You used sauce to heal a sick child. The Magisters threw you in jail. Then, in the night, came the dwarves. They marched you blindfolded through the sewers, clapped you in irons, and took you apart for your sauce.
Take me away from here, please. She can't keep us here.
A humble builder, when your source powers surfaced, you knew you were in for the joy. But you ended up here, stolen from your cell. They took you apart in search of your source. You died, screaming. The shade of a spirit shimmers before you, barely visible. Its source has been sucked nearly dry. A sorcerer, a dissolute dwarf with a big mouth, you were thrown in the slammer. Fort Joy beckoned, but you woke up hooded, being dragged through the sewers to a painful end. You never saw the light again.
Who are you? Did Lord Kem send you about the missing prisoners? Ah! So the prisoners escaped. That seems unlikely, since they were well shackled. But perhaps the Magisters are not as guilty as we'd thought. Not that that lets them off the hook, of course. You may thank Lord Kem for the information. I will put it to good use. We'll get to the bottom of this, I guarantee it. Hardly. The jailer's records are clear. 564 men and women were signed in, and never signed out again. I'd say this was an oversight in record-keeping, but I know some of those names. And they are nowhere to be found. That is the ever-elusive mystery. These weren't escape artists. They were thieves and drunkards, imbeciles and liars, heretics and fools. The crudest of the crude, turned from slugs to smoke. Poof.
Well, hello again. Welcome to my very, very humble abode. Guess I heard it too. The man has some curious ideas about what constitutes treason. I refuse to raise a hand against fellow members of the Divine Order. Refuse to buy into Kem's lie that they're all Black Ring puppets. It's not just the city. The Divine Order is coming undone at the seams. There's never been much love lost between the Paladins and the Magisters, but this, brawling in the streets, it will be the end of us all. Too many Paladins from noble families, and too many Magisters that started as working folk. Of course, the Paladins were the first recruits of Lucian. So, many saw the Magisters rising through the ranks as a threat to their order. Pig farmers leading lords, they said. But now that some white Magisters have been found colluding with the Black Ring, now that Kem has his excuse, it's war. Kem's always been a hard man. His steel was forged in the war with the Black Ring. But recently there's something else. He's turned cold. Not cruel, exactly, just harsh. Dispassionate to a fault. They say it's the Void Woken, that he's too worried about Rivellon to worry about people. Maybe that's it. Or maybe years of fighting finally broke him. Your guess is as good as mine. Although, I've heard whispers. There are places in Kem's mansion that nobody goes but him. One has to wonder what he gets up to. I'll see you again, I hope. The company in here lacks a certain charm.